Welcome to the Lived Experience podcast, where each episode is a journey of self-discovery and growth. I'm your host, Dr. Tamia Ryan, and today I have the pleasure of welcoming Miss Monique Darden to share her wisdom on our topic, Insightful Conversations, Guided Journaling, a Tool for Personal Growth. Ms. Darden is going to share her expertise on how she's helped individuals unlock their true potential and how she plans to continue to help those pursue their personal growth. We'll discuss the impact of therapy on our journey towards self-awareness and empowerment and how journaling can assist with that. Monique is a shining example of expertise in the fields of social work and professional counseling. She holds a bachelor's degree in social work, but also has a master's degree in professional counseling. And she brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to our conversation. I'm excited to also announce that she's the author of 2 books. The first book was From Woman to Woman, which dived into personal empowerment. And she just is working on releasing her second book, which will be available for pre-order, called Hey Girl, Can We Talk About Therapy? So thank you, Monique, for taking the time out today to join me and have this conversation. I'm excited that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Let's just dive right into it like we always do. Can you start off just sharing a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, my name is Monique Darden. You explained so very much, really about what I do. But if I had to describe who I am, I would first start with I am a daughter of God, and I identify identify myself by that, first,
Mm-hmm.
and everything flows from that for me.
Okay.
And I think a lot of times we do a lot of people say, "Well, who are you?" and we talk about what we do
Mm-hmm.
instead of who we are. And
Right.
so,
Yes.
at my core, I'm just a daughter of God who happens to be redeemed. I've
Mm-hmm.
come a long way, and I'm just really grateful for God's love and patience with me on this
Yes.
journey and on this process. So,
Mm-hmm.
asking who I am, that's who I am. What
Love
I
it.
do is a lot of what you just described. I have received a few degrees in counseling, and I'm super excited about that. I am
Yes.
currently working towards getting my licensure so I can practice as
Yay.
a licensed therapist, and I'm actually a school counselor right now.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. And can you talk a little bit about your inspiration behind creating a guided journal that was focused specifically on finding a therapist?
Yeah, sure. So I talk about at the very beginning of the book, I outlined just a few things about myself. And one of the things that I talked about is that I grew up with this language about therapy. My
Mm-hmm.
father does therapy, and I've always had this innate thing. I promise you. Like, I feel like God wired me this way. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've always had this innate thing about the importance of talking to people, of expressing your feelings, of expressing what's going on. My mother would tell you when I was a child, people would be calling my house, and I'm 12 years old, right? And people
Right.
are calling to talk to me, crying on the phone, and can I talk to
Yes.
Monique? Like, because it's always been a part of who I am. I've always been a mother
Mm-hmm.
hen. I've always been, that person to people. And so I was fortunate to have this information to know the importance of this. But I know that there's a world out there who does not know the importance of finding someone that they can talk to and share with, and not just communicate with, but really have somebody to help guide their process into a better way of thinking. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to find. We don't know where to start. We don't know which way to go. And so for me, growing up that way, and then going to school for social work, and then going to school for counseling, it's always been a part of my journey. But I never changed my major. I knew what
Mm-hmm.
I was going for. I went, I did it, and and that was that. And so there are some people in this world who do not know. They have no idea. And so
Right.
I outline, how you find a therapist. What does that look like? Where do you go to? Like, what websites can you trust? Where, do you
Mm-hmm.
go to your insurance first? Like, I go through all of those steps in this book. And so I guess the short answer is I already knew. I know there's a lot of people that don't. So I thought I would share the information with the world.
Thank you for sharing that. And I love journaling. I think about, and I love to write. And so those that know me know that. But my mom bought me my first journal when I was like 8 years old because she always used to journal and have a diary. And I can still remember just how excited I was to get it. And I thought I had a lot going on as an 8 year old. And I didn't have nothing going on. But, for me, it was like, I get to write down my thoughts
Yes,
and these are mine and they're private.
yes.
And I just remember that feeling, right? And so can you talk about how therapy and guided journaling complement each other?
Yes. So I agree with you. I'm of the same way. My mom bought me a diary very early on in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I have several from when I was a small child up to the 17 of them that I have today. I
Yes.
don't know about you, but I have so
Yep.
many journals, and it's like, girl, can you write in one book?
Got one over here, one over here in the nightstand, one over here in my phone. I'm writing stuff down, texting stuff to
Yes.
myself. Yes.
One in the car, one on the go. Like, there's a notebook everywhere. And so,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm always having thoughts and there's always these things. And so for me, my journal, I think, gives you a place to really focus in on your therapeutic journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I feel like when I go to therapy, my therapist be dropping nuggets. She be dropping these gems. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time I leave the office, a lot of it is gone, right?
Right.
There's something to being able to put pen to paper. I mean, even psychologically, like, there's studies that
Mm-hmm.
show, right, that when you write something down, you're likely to remember it that much more. And
Right.
so, at my church, we say note takers are history makers. And so,
Uh-huh.
when you take notes on whatever's going on, you are more likely to remember. And so, there on the first page of the actual journal, it just says therapy notes. And so, you in your therapy session, you write your therapist said something, you're like, oof, I gotta remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Or oof, I should try this. Or oof, this stuck out to
Right.
me. Not only do you want to write down the things that your therapist is saying to you want to write down and be able to recall what came up for you in
Right.
therapy. What
Mm-hmm.
came to the surface? What did you say that talked yourself into a free space? What did you say
Yes.
that unlocked something for you? Because a lot of times that's what therapy really is. It is
Mm-hmm.
someone is there listening to you and sort of repeating what you said, or reframing what you said, but you're talking yourself into a lot of these things, and you
Right.
find out that you have that sense of agency, like, yo, I know me better than this person knows me. I know me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to talk
Yep.
myself into certain spaces, and when that happens, to journal it down, to write that thing down, it'll stick with you even longer when you go, oh,
Yes.
I came up with this thought. I
Mm-hmm.
came up with this solution. That solution came from within me. That didn't come from somebody else. So I do have more than I think I
Mm-hmm.
do. So that's
Yeah.
the the aid that I think journaling has within the session.
And I appreciate that because, and as a clinician, I
Hmm.
mean, we have to take notes, right? When we're meeting with our clients, we got to jot some stuff down because we got to remember what we're working on with that client and what to bring back up.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, when you walk away from a session, as a client walking away from a session, you have opened up some things, right? And you haven't really processed it all in that session. I mean,
Right.
you may have started to scratch the surface,
Right.
but now when you're home, when you're alone,
Come on.
or you're sitting talking to your friends, now you're like, okay, it's hitting you. And
Yep.
so now you can go back and reflect on that and have that time and space to be able to process that.
That's right.
So,
One of the
mm-hmm,
things I talk about, or I have after your therapy session notes, is what you just described: a space to write down, first, your goals. What did you come up with in therapy? What kind of therapeutic goals did you and your therapist come up with for your journey? Have a
mm-hmm,
space for action steps. I have a space for how do you take care of yourself after therapy.
Mhm.
That's a really big piece to this thing.
That's
People
a
don't know
huge
that
part.
there's aftercare that is necessary.
Mhm.
You open.
Yeah.
You vulnerable at this point. So what
Yep.
do you do for yourself at that point that allows you to kind of sew yourself back up a bit, sit with
Mhm.
yourself, feel your feelings, all those things. And then I have a thing on here called evening thoughts. And it's the same thing what you described. Later on, you done left therapy, and you're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what just happened in there? And a lot of these thoughts are coming up again. A lot of this, you're been able to process it some more. So before you lay your head down that night, you're able to take a moment and write down some of the things that are coming up for you now.
I love that. And, in terms of the prompts, and I know you went through some of the prompts, gave me some examples of the prompts. What was your creative process in developing these prompts?
I'm gonna go with my own journey because for me personally, when I leave therapy, I do feel very open. I feel very vulnerable. And the best thing that I like to do, I like to go out for boba. I love boba tea.
Okay.
And so I was just thinking, like, what do I do after therapy? Some people get on the phone with their friends and try to reprocess some things. Some people go out with some people that they love. Sometimes my therapist will say, sis, when you leave here, call the people that are in your inner circle and go have dinner.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you go do.
Yes.
Don't do nothing else. Don't go try to save the
Mm-hmm.
world. Go and have dinner with the people that love you. Surround yourself. So I really just use my journey as and what I needed. There's a prompt in there that says something like, what do I want to tell my therapist about in next session? Because I don't know
Mm-hmm.
about you or nobody else that's listening to this, but throughout the week between sessions, all of these thoughts
Yeah.
start coming up in my mind. But then when I get to session, I can't remember any of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I wanted to tell you about this. I meant to talk to you about this, but
Right. You're
I
caught
forget.
up. Mm-hmm.
So to write those things down. So really, my process, my journey is what opened me up to being able to be able to ask people those same questions. I can't be the only one that don't remember.
Right.
I can't be the only one
Oh
who can't
no.
remember the last time they cried. I can't remember be the only one who can't remember the last time they
Mm-hmm.
had a good laugh. I can't be the only
Right.
one who can't remember what it feels like to feel safe in my own body.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
then
it's a process. This therapy is a process. And like you mentioned, you may go see your therapist once a week. I mean, sometimes you're not going every other week. I mean, you may be monthly, depending on whatever the schedule is. So many things have happened since that time. And being able to go into the session and make it a productive session,
yep,
because we all want to do the work, right? We all want to get towards that place of healing and growth. So this helps us work in a more effective manner.
right,
And our therapist is going to be happy because they're going to be like, okay,
right,
she came prepared. He came prepared,
right.
right? They're ready. What advice would you give someone who is hesitant or unsure about going into therapy?
Hmm, that's a big question because that's a lot of people. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We have social media now, and everybody's got therapeutic advice. Everybody's got
Yes.
everybody posting, but how many people are actually
Mm-hmm.
going? You know,
Right.
social media is
Right.
not therapy, right?
It's not. No.
And so I would tell somebody, sometimes you just have to take the lead.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to take the lead because here's the thing: you know what life is like without therapy. You're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know and if that life is working for you, keep doing it the way you're doing it, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
But if it's not, and you have a question in your mind about should I go to therapy, that probably means you should,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And the frequency is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, under the supervision or the guidance of your therapist, the one you see, they may suggest or recommend that you come, you know, twice a week, once a week, once, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
bi-weekly, monthly, whatever.
Right.
And based on the variables, you make that decision. And maybe you don't want to do every week right now. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's saying you got to
Yeah.
do this every week, and one of the things that people say a lot is, I don't have time. I'm too busy.
Right.
I got too much going on. And I say to that, if you don't have 1 hour out of your week to
Mm-hmm.
focus on you, you're too busy.
Yeah. And now we see the virtual world has opened up, right? It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
But if we're looking at some of the blessings from it, you can access support now in any space
that's right.
virtually. And there's so much flexibility now where we can get that support and that assistance. Another challenge that people have sometimes is maybe they've tried therapy before.
Yep,
I've been there, done
yep,
that. I hated my
yep,
therapist. I had a bad
yep.
experience. And I like to remind people that it's okay to fire your therapist.
Yep,
It's okay.
yep.
And your therapist is, if they're a good therapist, they're going to understand that there's no personal feelings involved. Sometimes it's not the right match,
That's right.
right? Sometimes it just isn't the right match. And that's okay
That's right.
to take a second look and see, okay, what else is out there. Sometimes we also struggle with therapy, as you know, because we're starting to really tap into some stuff that maybe we've been avoiding. Can you talk a little bit about how your book will help people maybe tap into those feelings, but also give them a space to be able to acknowledge it and show themselves some compassion as they're going through that?
Sure. So at the very beginning of the journal, I have the feel wheel, our favorite thing,
Okay.
right? So,
Love it.
and it expands out from just the emotions that we a lot of times we do know how to describe, like your fear, anger, happy, sad. It branches out and gives you more vocabulary and more language for what you might really be feeling. You can say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I'm sad," but really you're feeling betrayed. Really you're
Right.
feeling hopeless. Really you're feeling unmotivated. Really you're feeling
Mm-hmm.
neglected, right? And so it's giving you more language to identify the deeper feeling, like the feeling beneath the feeling, right? This
Right.
root feeling, if you will, of what's really
Mm-hmm.
happening on the inside. What are you really experiencing? And so the journal offers you that. And then I also have space in here for you to write exactly that. How are you feeling? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I literally say, how are you feeling? See the feel wheel in the front. So you're able to identify those feelings, take a good look at what it is
Mm-hmm.
that you're feeling. And then I offer space um, for with several questions that allows you to dig a little bit deeper. One of the questions that I have that I love says, "What lie are you believing about yourself,
Mm.
about God, about others? What kind of things are plaguing your mind? We can call them intrusive thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
right? What kinds of thoughts are coming to your mind that don't align with what you believe,
Right.
right? Um, and that gives you a space to process that. So then there's another question that says, how can you give yourself grace today?
Yes, important. Because we don't do that.
We don't.
We give it to other people. We're so quick to, I forgive this person, I forgive, but we are hard on ourselves,
Yeah,
and it limits us so much because we can't get past our own stuff,
that's
our
right.
own mistakes.
Correct. Another one of those questions is, what do I need to surrender today?
Mm,
What can I let go of? What can I take from closed fist to open hand?
mm-hmm.
What can I allow to free flow, right? That kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so those are some of the questions. I also ask, what area of your heart and life have you been hesitant to let God into?
Mm.
What we close it off. We got that. My favorite, one of my favorite hymns is "Identify with Miss Oprah Winfrey," when she says
Yes.
her favorite hymn is "I Surrender All," and it's one of mine
Mm-hmm.
too. Hymnal in the Christian church, and we sing it so beautifully and all these things. But really, we just singing words because what we really saying in our heart is, I surrender some.
Right.
And not I surrender all.
And what I love about that and what you're doing is it's all actionable things.
That's
It's
it.
all tangible things because we can just say, okay, I feel sad. And then just sit in that, but not be working towards, okay, why are we feeling
That's
sad?
right.
What is behind that?
That's
What is
right.
the pattern behind that? What are the people that are in my life that may be causing these triggers?
Mm-hmm.
And the part that you talked about surrendering, that's powerful because, again, a lot of us are holding on to baggage
Yeah.
that we don't like. It's heavy. We're carrying it around, but we refuse to let it go.
Yep.
And so I love what you're doing with this because, again, it's giving people ways that they can actually make change.
That's
And it's
right.
breaking it down in an easy way for them because it can be overwhelming when you're just sitting there like, okay, how am I going to get through this? I've been dealing with
Yeah.
this for 20 years, you
Right.
know?
Right. I think
And
there's something powerful about being able to sit with yourself. And you'll probably, people will usually work through this. I know I did. I had to work through what it meant to be with myself, to be with my
mm-hmm,
thoughts, to be with my feelings. You know, some people, I know I did at some point growing up, begin to feel like, you know, my feelings aren't trustworthy.
mm-hmm,
And I'm talking a lot about God, and I'm in this conversation. I've been talking a lot about church and a lot about this and that. Sometimes church aids
mm-hmm.
in that
Yeah.
warped thinking of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can't trust your feelings, but you can though.
Right.
Should they rule you? No, but can
Mm-hmm.
they give you information? Yes. It's telling
Yes.
you something. When you're in pain, your body is telling you something is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so what we do is we try to go, oh, let's just push it off. It's, you know, it's nothing. I got to go to work. I got to get these bills. I got to feed these kids. I ain't got time for,
Right.
you know. But you have to be able to pause for a second and
Mm-hmm.
acknowledge what your body is trying to tell you. Dr. Anita Phillips talks about how our bodies are not something that we should treat like it's a different, a separate part of us.
Right.
We are one with our bodies. We live in
Mm-hmm.
this thing. So maybe take a minute and pause and appreciate that your body is trying to tell you that something ain't right. Your body's trying to protect you. And it's important that
Mm-hmm.
we sit with our feelings. You won't self-destruct. I know that's like a
Right.
myth in our minds. Like, if I
Uh-huh.
start feeling, I'm never gonna stop. If I start crying, I'm never gonna stop. You will.
Yep.
You will never, you will
Yes.
stop crying. The tears will dry. The sun is gonna come out again, and you're gonna feel
Mm-hmm.
better as a result of giving yourself a space. I don't care if you gotta set a timer on your phone
Mm-hmm.
for 10 minutes and give yourself the 10 minutes to feel your feelings, scream, cry, kick, yell. I mean, whatever you need to do. Punch a pillow,
Yes.
whatever you need to scream into a pillow,
Mm-hmm.
but feel, give your body the opportunity to express.
That
Because when you
permission
don't
is
do that,
important.
it starts, that's when other stuff starts to get created in your body. We wonder why a lot of us, especially people of color, are dealing with
Mm-hmm.
cancers and this and that and the other. A lot of that stuff is just suppressed emotion
Yes.
that's developing into
It's
something else. Hypertension, you know, the high
mm-hmm.
blood pressure, the this and the that. Like, it's because we don't express enough.
We feel like, and I talked about this with another guest, especially Black women, we feel like we got to do it all. We got to be do not get me wrong. When I say resiliency is important,
Yes.
it's powerful,
Yes.
but we have to balance that.
Yes.
We can't be on 10 all the time. We can't carry everything all the
Right.
time and just feel like we have this suit, this armor on, right? That we're
Right.
walking around with.
Right.
And so just giving ourselves, as you mentioned, that grace and that permission
Right.
to, you know what, I really am not feeling it today,
Right.
you know, and I need to sit with that and figure out why and try to work through this.
Right.
Monique, I love what you're doing. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about your book that you have coming out, where people can find you, and we'll have that information down in the podcast description as well. But What do you have that is getting ready to launch?
Well, right now, the book that we've been discussing this entire time, it is called Hey Girl,
Yes.
Can We Talk About Therapy? Hey Girl, Can We Talk? Well, before I go on to the next thing, a compassionate companion to and through therapy. And it's a workbook, so
Love
it's
it.
fairly thick. This book is
Yes.
designed to carry you through 52 weeks. 52 weeks is 1 year, and it'll guide you through 2 years if you go in biweekly or in longer if you're going monthly. But this is
Okay.
designed to kind of be a weekly journal and journey, but you can also use it if you're, whatever frequency you're choosing. So this is
Okay.
Hey Girl, Can We Talk is actually is a series. This is the start of that series. This one is called About
Okay.
Therapy. The next one may be about medication or about grief or about
Okay.
whatever else comes to this brain. um,
Okay. I
and
love it. Multiple books. I love it.
yes, yes, that's multiple streams. Come on, somebody,
Yes.
because
Yes.
we got
We
to.
got to keep it going.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I have another book that came out in 2022, entitled "From Woman to Weapon," and it is such a light read yet a rich read.
Okay.
Much more palatable. Like you can just, you know, it got stories and vignettes and different
Mhm.
things like that. But there is a big chunk of the book that discusses. To being able to feel and deal and heal
Mhm.
from things that you're struggling with or things that you've been harboring there. And that's a really big chunk of it. A lot of people that have been able to read it say, "Uh-oh, I done got stuck. I know exactly where you at when you tell me that."
Uh-huh.
Because it gets a little deep. But then it gets a little easier
Yeah.
again. But you got to be able to pause there for a minute and deal a little bit.
Mhm.
And then you're able to go to those rest of those chapters that sharpen you as a woman.
Yes.
And it really just stands to say, the whole book stands to say, this is not, women are not just this ball of feminine energy. Like we got something to
Mhm.
offer this world. We are strength.
Yes.
We are power. We are a force to be reckoned with.
Mhm.
And um, that doesn't mean that you can't be soft, because we're here in our soft girl era times too. So
Yes. Yes.
that doesn't mean
Yes, we
that.
have that.
You can have both.
Mhm.
And sometimes the strongest thing we could do is be soft.
Yes, yes. And I love that your theme of empowerment and what you're bringing to people to allow them to take control of their lives and not feel like I don't have any control over what's happening to me. And sometimes we don't have control over what happens in our life. But as the saying goes, we can dictate how we respond to it, how we deal with it, how we process it. Where can folks find you at online? Do you have social media, places they can reach out, connect with you?
Sure, I do. My website is www.moniquedarden.com. My Instagram is I am Monique Darden. And you can find me at Monique Darden really on every platform.
Everywhere.
But
Okay.
Instagram is I am Monique Darden. I think I have a TikTok. I don't be on there like that.
Okay.
But right now, TikTok says Mo the Coach. So
Okay. Love it. Love it. And is there anything you want to leave the audience with?
I would love to share just a bit of my testimony
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to the mental health journey. So we talked about the book. We talked about how I thought these questions up, how the journey of how I
Mm-hmm.
created this from my own experience. But it wasn't just, oh, I started going to therapy and so I realized there's some questions that should be asked. Like I myself literally had to go through a process of my own healing, my own journey, and I'm still in it. Like I don't know that we
Mm-hmm.
that we arrive, right?
Ever leave it,
Right.
right?
So I'm
Mm-hmm.
still on that journey. But as an African American Christian woman, I often, every chance I get, I want to tell people that it is okay to go to therapy and it is okay to get the mental health assistance that you need. Deeper than that, I want to say that I myself, in 2022, I was in grad school. I was about to finish just a few months
Mhm.
shy of finishing my master's degree when I was hospitalized and
Mm.
had to go to a mental health institution for about a week. And there are a lot of reasons, a lot of different things happening, a lot of different, things going on there. But the point that I want to get to is that we can do a different podcast a different day about hospitalization, right? And
Oh
and
yes,
I
yes.
am more than willing to share my journey and the importance of that
Mhm.
at a later time. But I will say, for the sake of time today, that in February of 2022, I got my diagnosis of major depressive disorder in the hospital.
Mm.
They gave me some medicine. They sent me on my way. I was also, provided with a few wraparound services, continuous
Mhm.
therapy, outpatient therapy, stuff like that. But it wasn't until September of 2022 when I really started to get real with myself about what I was really experiencing. It
Mhm.
wasn't just downs, deep lows. I had some interesting highs too.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, our highs, Black women, brown women,
Mhm.
are perfection and trying to get things. You're hyper vigilant. We are, trying to get this done. We butcher baker and candlestick maker. We
Right.
got 27 irons in the fire and all 27 of them are
Mhm.
functioning properly. That's not okay.
Mhm. No, it's not. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable.
You can't do that. And the
Mhm.
people around us in our jobs and our churches and our friendships and our relationships and our family systems and structures see us a certain way because we present a certain way and we do things a certain way. We can count on her. She gonna get it done. She the perfect one for the job. She gonna make sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. I'll never have to go back and overcorrect or second guess. They see us that way.
Mhm.
And we can only, like you said, it's not sustainable. We can only do that for a certain amount of time.
Right.
And for me, I was hireable, favorable, needed,
Mhm.
wanted, used, and all the things because I was so just trying to reach this bar and I had to reach, and
Right.
everything was getting done, 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 done. Who wouldn't want that?
Mhm.
Everybody wants that
Yeah.
person on their team. But
Exactly.
there was another side to me that at some point, those 27 irons all went down in flames because
Mhm.
now a depressive episode is coming upon me. So
Mhm.
so many details I'm skipping over here, but the point I want to make here is that I went from a diagnosis of major depressive disorder to bipolar disorder type 2. It
Mhm.
was always bipolar disorder type 2,
Yep.
but we're often misdiagnosed for a
Mhm.
lot of reasons. And the doctor is here, she could
Yes.
tell you all the
Yeah.
reasons why we're often misdiagnosed. But a lot of it is because we aren't honest with ourselves
Mhm.
about what we're experiencing because those manic episodes present as something
Yes.
different.
Uh-huh.
And mania doesn't have to be you're hearing and seeing things that aren't there. It doesn't have to be, the extremes that we've seen. It doesn't have to
Mhm.
look like what we watch on TV. There are some
Yes.
hypo spaces
Mhm.
that we exist in, and we call it something else. And so we're not paying attention to the cycles. We're not paying attention to how
Mhm.
this happens, or how this ebbs and flows. But although we're not really paying attention to it, we know in our bodies, because this is when we go, "Oh, I'm so tired. I'm always tired. I'm burned out. I'm just over this and that." Right?
Uh-huh.
We know it in our bodies, but we don't have language for what it is that we're experiencing. And I didn't. And so it
Mm.
wasn't until I was nearing the end of my degree to go, all right, maybe I need to get real about what this
Yeah.
really is. And I finally went to the doctor and got a diagnosis, got the proper medication, was able to sleep finally,
Mhm.
and it leveled some things out. So I wanted to share that because
Thank
a lot
you.
of us don't talk about that side of things, or don't know
Mhm.
that we should go get checked out further. For those of us who just
Yes.
want to go to, all we do is go to church and Jesus gonna fix it. He writes out all my scriptures and give me all my medicine. Come on in the room, right? All of that
Right.
is fine. Pray, ask, all those things, and listen, because I promise you, your Father is going to tell you exactly what you need to do. And if that's go to the doctor,
Mhm.
go. And if
Right.
that's see a psychiatrist, go. It
Yes.
won't hurt you. It can only
It
help
is
you.
it can only help you, and it might feel scary, and you might have people sometimes that are around you that are not encouraging it because they're telling you, because they see that side of you
Right.
that's got everything going on, and girl, you got it, you always handling it. And that's great to have that support, but you also need that other support that is telling you it's okay, you are tired, and this is why we need to get you some support. So thank you for sharing that story and being real and being and vulnerable and honest about that, because we don't talk about it enough. There's so much shame around it and so much embarrassment and so much, as you said, just lack of understanding of, well, I'll be all right. All I need to do is take a little quick vacation or take a couple days off and I'll be right back on it. But really, keeping track of our well-being, of our feelings, and seeking out that support is important. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that, and I know that's going to resonate with people that are listening. There's someone that's going through that situation now or who's went through it not too long ago. And so please, those of you listening, reach out for that support, reach out for that help. I'll have some information here at the end of the podcast where people can reach out and get that support, some resources as well, if you just need it or need to pass that on to someone else. Thank you so much, Monique. Thank you for taking the time out. I can't wait to get your book. Now, is this something I forgot to ask that you'll also be hoping that therapists pick up to have in their office, on their bookcase,
Yes.
in the bookshelves?
You have nailed the vision on the head.
Yes,
My
yes,
goal, my ultimate goal for this is to partner with agencies, private practices, and the like, to be able
yes.
to get as many of these into your offices as possible so that you're able to offer this as a resource to your clients. And so
Love it.
if you are listening and you are a practitioner, I
Yes.
would
Reach
love
out to
to
Monique.
connect with you to discuss what that can look like, to get some of these into your hands and into your offices so that we can keep it on rotation as they're being
Mm-hmm.
sold or as you're giving them away, whatever you choose to do. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to offer them continually to your practice so that people can really begin being blessed and benefited by this.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed this conversation, and we will definitely have you back on because I know you're going to keep the books coming.
Yes.
And we're
Yes.
going to keep those books out there and continue to give you a platform where you can reach people.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much. And those listening, we'll see you back next time.